Suzette Luyken, welcome into the weeds. It's so great to have such a pivotal person, such a fundamental part of the Legalise Cannabis movement and the Legalise Cannabis Party down here in Sydney. You're down here from Queensland. How are you? What are you up to?
Fabulous, Jez. We're down here for Mardi Gras, for the parade tomorrow night in Sydney. Looking forward to it.
First time you've marched?
Yeah, first time.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's going to be a big day.
Yep.
We're going to have a big float. But look, there's a lot happening. You've been a key part of the cannabis movement for a long time. You have been absolutely intrinsic, fundamental to the party getting registered. You're one of those people who does all the hard, boring, essential administration for the party and for the movement. But why? Why cannabis? How did you get involved in the cannabis movement?
I think firstly it's my passion for helping more so other people. I'm not so worried about myself. I'm happy to go along with, cannabis and consuming and not worry about it. But I'm worried about people that can't get access and who are facing that constant stigma of being cannabis consumers.
So people who can't avail, because it's too expensive or it's too hard for them to go through the MedCan scheme.
Oh, definitely.
And so you're a passionate advocate for homegrown cannabis.
Oh, definitely. I'll keep on fighting until we get it.
And how did cannabis become an important part of your life? Like, when did you first use cannabis, and how did it become an important part of your life?
Okay, well, I was a social smoker when I was younger and on and off over the years. About 15 years ago, I started to get quite unwell with autoimmune problems and what have you. And a friend of mine reached out to me and said, well, try this oil. It's really good because I'm used to just smoking. And the oil really helped me through, helped me get off opioids, helped me basically get back on with my life. So it was sort of like, this is my chance now to help other people and put that word out there and help them.
Amazing. So it really had a massive impact on your health and well-being.
Yeah.
Just making that jump to oils. And where were those oils coming from? Where were you getting those from? Because this is probably pre-legalisation.
Yeah, definitely black market. Yeah.
This is black market. And without naming names, I don't want to get anyone arrested by the Queensland cops.
Yep.
But where was it coming from? Was it a network of producers? Where was it coming from?
Yep, network of producers that had about 3,000 patients.
3,000, amazing.
Yeah, a lot of them children, helping children with epilepsy. So that was probably one of my main things, was starting to go to the rallies and rallying for those children who were being removed from their parents because they were being treated with cannabis to keep them alive.
That is amazing. People forget that. There's a lot of middle-class people and younger people now who don't realise how much some people have sacrificed to get some law reform. And we haven't had all the law reform, of course, that we want in Australia. But there were an underground railroad of network of people who were growing their own cannabis, turning it into the oils that we need. And that was initially, there was a real big push because it was so effective in the treatment of some of these diseases and epilepsy in children.
Oh, yeah, it was huge. It was absolutely a huge underground network. And, I was proud to sort of be a part of that until, we did get the corporate medical model came in and some of those children got helped. But still, it's that cost, still comes down to the cost, and it's sort of like a postcode lottery of whether or not you can afford to be able to access that.
Yeah, because it is expensive. If you're a regular medicinal cannabis user, it's not on the TGA, it's not funded, it's not subsidised. So you've got to keep going back and again and again and again, and it can quite easily run into tens of thousands of dollars a year, and it's fundamental to people's well-being, isn't it? It's saving their lives.
Yeah, and usually the people that need it the most are the people that have lost their job, lost their income, they're on a disability pension, they're struggling with their lives, they can't afford that cost.
Yeah, I've met a woman like MS, She's really struggling. You know, she can't work. She's in social housing. She can't afford $170 a week for 10 grams of 23% THC, which is what she's looking for. So she's growing her own. And that's a key part of why the Legalise Cannabis Party has arisen even after medicinal cannabis. How did you get involved in the party? Tell us about the party, and tell us about the party in Queensland, because the Queensland Party really is the heart and soul. It's where it started, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I was doing something called Cannananas. I was involved in that on the committee, and there was a group of us that were travelling around Queensland and going to events with seniors and teaching them basically how to grow cannabis, how to make their own medicine, and we were getting quite good traction, bit of media and what have you. But on the way home one day, we were talking in the car, and we said, you know, we only need like 500 people and we can start a political party. So
we only need 500.
Yeah, 500 people, and that sounded really easy. We thought, oh, we can do that.
Well, whoa. Let's back up a bit here. So the Cannananas.
Yep.
So you're out there breaking the law.
Yes.
So you're out there on the road, some smart, active, tuned-in women out there. You're all nanas?
Yep. Oh, no, I was the only non-nana.
Okay.
But I was sort of more like, again, the one that sort of would organise it and get things and get everyone to the event and have everything there and...
you made it happen.
Do behind the scenes, more thing.
Amazing. How did you advertise that? Like you couldn't put an ad in the paper. Is it Facebook? How did you keep it on the lowdown? You know, come to and where did you meet?
Well, MCUA, Medical Cannabis Users Association, which was founded by Gail Hester.
Shout out to Gail Hester.
Yeah, she is the queen of cannabis. She started the MCUA and she'd garnered, I think, 18,000 members online just on Facebook. So we started advertising our events through there, and local media would pick it up. We even had a current affair come and do a story on us.
Amazing.
It started to get that traction, but we thought we're going to keep hitting a dead end if we can't, legalise it. So
change the law.
We had to change the law.
So what sort of things were you advising people? You're advising them on strains of cannabis, on particular cannabis for particular ailments, like titrations, how much to have, when to have it, how to grow.
Yep.
And also the laws themselves, how much trouble you could get in.
Well, we had we'd teach them firstly how to grow, how to even clone the plant, how to distill it or make oil with coconut oil. We'd teach them about hemp for health as well, so hemp seeds, to put them into your diet and activate the endocannabinoid system. So we'd do like a whole little, we'd start with hemp foods and then we'd go to growing, and by the end of it, they were so keen and eager, they would bust in to do it.
So you're just like this mobile encyclopedia. You're taking it on the road.
Yep.
Literally, you had a bus, didn't you? Were you in a van?
No,
what were you doing?
We didn't have a bus. We're just convoying a few cars.
Yep.
And rock up and do our thing and
Queensland,
and leave
for
again.
people who aren't from Australia or aren't paying attention, is a gigantic place.
Yep.
And you're getting across the state.
We only got we didn't get a lot of. I guess we didn't get too far, but when we did get somewhere, we'd have a huge audience. We could have a couple of hundred people crammed into a little hall.
Amazing.
And they were always all seniors.
Isn't that's amazing? It's one of the interesting parts to why the legalised cannabis movement's got so much traction. And I think why there's so little pushback against it is because there's so many ostensibly older conservative people who are taking it because of like menopause or, the neurological disorders, pain, anxiety, all the other things. And they're older people. And they're people you listen to. You listen to your nan. You listen to your grandpa when they say, hey, this is, I had Parkinson's, I've got Parkinson's, and it's making a big difference to my life.
Yeah.
They're really powerful advocates, aren't they?
Oh, definitely. And also we'd always have success stories come and tell their success stories and watch the mindset of people change and see someone who would stand up there who might be quite conservative and talk about their, back then illegal cannabis use. And that was always really helpful. And our biggest supporters in Queensland are still the seniors.
They are, and it's a really powerful part of the legalised cannabis movement, as we're alluding to, was the spread in terms of age, young people, old people. Like it's helping children with epilepsy. It's helping people who who may have MS or Parkinson's, who are much older. But it's also rich and poor, and it's town and country. And it's also, some conservative types. I know so many veterans, be it from the police force, AMBOs, actual soldiers from the military. They're really powerful advocates in terms of how cannabis has helped with, anxiety, PTSD. That's something you've seen?
Yeah, definitely, and that's a lot of feedback we get often when we go to events and the police will be there. We talked to them a few weeks ago at another event, and they're all for it. Like we said, we are fighting for you, so you can go home at the end of the day and consume cannabis and then be able to work the next day. And most first responders, they know it works. They do, and they really want to have access to it.
They do know it works, and going home and getting blitzed on, 8 beers or 2 bottles of wine or something like that, it just leads to alcoholism. It's a slippery slope. You can't perform. But if you have a few toots on your vape, which I'll do now, bit of Blue Dream, tidy, you can function. I'm functioning now. I'll see how I'm functioning in 10 minutes. But you can function. You can wake up the next day. You can do your job. You can look after your kids. You can do your taxes. You can organise. I mean, look at a person like you.
Oh, yeah.
You're a absolute powerhouse in terms of administration and organisation. Cannabis can be positive.
Oh, you can ask anyone that knew me 10, 15 years ago. I was unable to walk some days. I couldn't get out of bed. I was on all sorts of opioids and God knows what, and I couldn't function. I actually felt really unsafe driving and didn't drive during that period. But I managed to...
And you're talking years here.
Yeah. So I managed to get on top of it with my oil and slowly take myself off all of those on my own accord, and the clarity all came back. Not only did the clarity come back, but also my neurological symptoms started to go away.
Amazing. Save your life. What an incredible story. So some people would just sit back and go, well, good for me. I've found the medicine. I'm feeling better. But you took it out to the community with others, and then you also got organised in terms of the political party. 500 names. How did you do that?
Okay, we put a lot of call-outs on social media, obviously, and I think the tricky part was people giving over their name and their address.
Yep.
Because the stigma's there, and they thought if they were to do that somehow the police would get hold of our data and come and raid them. So it was a real struggle to get people to honestly put down who they were. It took us about...
I mean, I know how, the reason we don't have 200 political parties in this country is because it's, regardless of cannabis, it's hard to get anyone to put their name to an idea.
Yep.
It might just be the Liberal Party or Clive Palmer or whatever. Even if they're supporters, they go, well, hold on, I don't want to put my name out there. I don't want to get involved in politics. So it's a really hard graft, but you got it done.
Oh, yeah, hats off to everyone that did it. I think we started in about March, and we managed to get registered 4 weeks before the election in October.
What year was this?
In 2020.
In 2020. Was that the first time there'd been a Legalise Cannabis Party run at an election?
As a state level,
at a state level, registered as Legalise Cannabis.
We were the first one.
Yeah, before that it was hemp, wasn't it?
Yeah, so hemp had run obviously at a federal level and in New South Wales.
I think they had run once.
Hadn't run on a Queensland level.
And that was the help in marijuana prohibition.
Yep.
Blue Dreams kicking in on my tongue's gone all furry. But you got you got on the ballot. How'd you go?
We ran 23 candidates.
23?
And we averaged, I think pretty much averaged our 4%, which is good for first time because we didn't have any money. So we had a handful of corflutes each, some generic flyers. We rocked up at the polling booth and people
Probably
were like,
no media. No,
no, people
no.
like, who are you? What are
Yeah.
you doing here? And it was a hard slog. But up at Bundaberg, Ian managed to get, I think, 5.5%. Yep, 5.5%. And that's basically just from being on the ballot.
So, and there are some areas now, and they're not the areas where people would think the Legalise Cannabis Party would be strong. A lot of people think Legalise Cannabis is a left-wing inner city party, but in actual fact we're a broad church, and some of our support really does come from the regions,
Yep.
outer suburbs. So tell us about a couple of the by-elections that happened a little while ago.
Okay, so we've had we've also got a big conservative following, I must say that, especially in Queensland. Like once you get north of Brisbane, it gets more and more conservative. So there's a lot of people on board, and I think it's that privacy of the ballot box. They can come in and mark their ballot. No one knows what they're up to, which has been a big thing. But we've done pretty well. We've had a few by-elections since then. We had the federal by-election in Fadden, which
You were
I
the
ran that
candidate.
one.
You were the candidate.
Yeah.
Put your hand up.
Yeah, we did really well. It was a
And that's like the
LNP
suburb.
safe
That's the
seat.
suburbs of the Gold Coast, isn't it?
Yeah,
Runs up even into the
north.
back into almost into Logan, doesn't it?
Yeah, it goes right up north. It's a very strong LNP seat.
Yep.
And we had 13 candidates and still managed to get 7.2%.
That is a massive,
Yeah.
massive effort. I mean, it's taken, I know other political parties, it takes them like a generation. You're stone cold, no money. You, Robinson Crusoe, put your hand up for the Legalise Cannabis Party, get 7.5%. Huge effort in an area. And I reckon people would have thought you'd only get 7 votes. You know,
I was laughed at
Yeah.
at the polling booth by some of the volunteers from other parties and saying to me, "What are you doing here? Why are you bothering?" And they must have been shocked when they saw
They
the
were
results.
shocked, and I know, and I've used that, and I've talked to a lot of political pundits about that result, the Ipswich West result.
Yeah.
Walk us through that, because that's a pivotal moment, because that's where we had Melody was running, wasn't she?
Yep,
Melody
Lindsay, our party president.
That's right, party president. Really active campaigner out there. But this is Pauline Hanson's hometown. This is her home electorate. This is where One Nation started.
Yeah, definitely.
And we're up against One Nation, LNP, Labor. What happened? How did we go?
Oh, she absolutely blitzed it, but she also worked it really hard too. It wasn't her area, which is also another big thing, because a lot of electorates don't like outsiders coming in. But she went down there and she worked hard, and she absolutely blitzed it and did really well.
What'd she get? What was the? She's sitting over there, so that's why it's being so nice.
What'd you get, Mel?
What did you get?
I think nearly like 14 and a half, or just
Yeah, I've just over 14%.
That's getting up in the realms where you can win it. You know, like there's people I think have come close. Once you're up to about 20% of the vote, with our preferential voting system, depending how the chicken bones fall, you can win, and that's a massive vote. And it was more than One Nation, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, and that was on a very small number of really no volunteers.
No
So it's only, I think,
volunteers,
myself and a few friends
a
on
few how to
voting day with
votes
them.
out. Yep. And they end up, and this is where Pauline had the fish and chip shop.
Yeah.
Amazing. So I know that rattled the shit out of a lot of political pundits, because they thought, and I've showed them this, that our vote is the worst in the inner city, like teal seats, green seats. Those people all believe in legalised cannabis, but it's like they can all afford it. They're middle class. They're more affluent. They can get the med can, and legalising it is, it's on their list, but it's down the list,
I think
isn't
that's
it?
the frustrating thing, is a lot of people say, well, it's already legal. Look, I've got it, and show their prescription. And it's like, well, it's good that you can afford that, but you also can't drive.
Yes.
There's also the whole job discrimination and what have you. So it's definitely nowhere near from being legal.
Yeah, it isn't. And look, there's only one horse in any race, and that's self-interest. And so that's a really important point. We say to medical cannabis users who can afford it. Well, what sort of medical cannabis do you want to consume? Do you want it all to be imported, like like rubbish from Canada, or cannabis grown in South Africa where they're paying people like $4 an hour? Who knows what's in it? We can have all kinds of contaminants in it. We're better off having a domestic industry if we're growing cannabis. People need to drive. People need, they can lose their jobs. There's parts of our workforce, aren't there, where if you test positive to cannabis, gone.
Yeah.
No ifs, no buts, no.
Yeah.
There's no exemption, even if it's a prescribed legitimate medicine.
Yeah, I get a lot of emails because I do the administration side, and I see every week, day after day, either please help me, I've lost my job, or I've been caught on a RDT. Can you help
Roadside
me?
drug test.
People are desperate and they lose their job, their family, their home, just over that.
Yeah, your job, your family, your home, over a roadside drug test for cannabis, which is a medicine that you're not impaired. It's not an impairment test. It's just a presence test.
Yeah.
That, I'm telling you, is fucking bullshit. That is like a crazy law, and it's affecting hundreds of thousands of people, isn't it? Do you have mass RDT in Queensland?
No, we're not too bad there. Obviously, once we go over the border into northern New South Wales, that's another story.
Yeah, so people don't understand that too. Not everywhere is like New South Wales in Australia. They don't do this mass RBT and then they just go, oh, well, that worked, so we'll go to mass RDT. Most places have pretty comprehensive random breath tests for alcohol, but in terms of Australia, and in actual fact the world, New South Wales has one of the largest roadside drug testing regimes in the world, and it's mainly catching people who are taking adult recreational cannabis or medicinal cannabis.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't surprise me because it's the moment we know we're going to cross the border, it's like no one wants to drive. And the one thing about being caught with a positive cannabis test is you'll be pinged from there on in. You will be constantly pulled over.
So they see your number plate.
It comes
they
up
just
on their screen and
bang,
they ping you again.
And they just pull you over again
Yep.
and say you're gone again and again and
Yeah.
again. And you can lose your license for many, many years. And if you're a regional person or you've got to travel for work, that's it, lights out. You're not getting your kids to school. You're not getting to your health appointment. You're not looking for work. It's a life buster. And so it's a key election campaign issue for us running into every election. We use the opportunity to raise it, even though it's a state election, a state issue. How's the party going? I know you're well and truly organised in terms of the federal election. How are things shaping up there?
Yeah, federal election's going really, really good. We've had a really good calibre of people put their hand up to come and run, and a lot of people with a lot of knowledge, and looks like we might be able to run not too many seats, but enough seats to get the word out there. The calibre of our Senate candidates is fabulous, so really happy with
So
them.
how many states are running in?
Okay, we're running every state and territory, but we're not running in the ACT.
Yep, okay. And this will be the first time too. Is this the first time that the Leaf's on the ballot?
No.
Federally?
No, federally it's usually on the ballot.
Yep.
So that's a big one. Look for the Leaf on the ballot.
So New South Wales, we've just got the Leaf on the ballot. So look for the Leaf.
Yep, look for the Leaf.
That's
and
the message.
Vote above the line.
Vote above the line, even though there might be a great candidate who you know. And this is in the Senate. Don't vote for them and the go below the line. Vote one above the line. That does the job for the Legalise Cannabis Party. Yeah, look for the Leaf above the line. And so we're running in lower house seats as well.
Yeah, a handful in each state at this stage. All depends on the whole donation thing. We don't get those big donations like the other parties. We rely on Grassroots and a lot of our donors. It might be $5 here, $20 here a month, and that all adds up for us. So we're really appreciative of those people.
Yeah, so that's another indicator that it really is a grassroots party,
Definitely.
a grassroots movement that's growing across the state. Like as we go to the country, as we go to air, WA is coming up. as well. And so there's parties in every state that people can get involved in. There's the federal party they can join in, which does the job for both. They can really get behind a movement by getting out, volunteering, contributing a little bit. It makes a big difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's a big thing, is getting our supporters out. We know there's a lot of people who obviously aren't well or can't help in that respect, but there's always something someone can do, whether it be getting call flutes out to polling booths and then going back home for the day. Don't have to talk to anyone. It's just getting people out there, breaking that stigma, which is a really hard thing to do for some people.
And one of the things that's a reality is that we could get someone elected to the Senate. Like our lower house candidates are going to fly the flag for the issue and for the cause and help the Senate vote. But in the Senate, we're a chance in a couple of states. I think Queensland, again, went very, very well, was in the race to the very end in the Senate at last federal election. The same again in Queensland. Where else is looking good for us?
WA is looking really well, really, really good. They've got a lot of support over there. So they'll be one to watch, I think. I think West Australia's got a good chance.
And also possibly Victoria with Fiona Patton.
Yep.
Yeah, so she's there's a bit more effort in terms of some of the lower houses down there.
Yeah. They're looking at running about probably 8 or 9 at this stage. But like I said, again, it's that money thing. It's $2,000 a nomination.
Yep.
And that doesn't include anything else. Just that's a nomination.
And then you've got to have your how to votes to hand out and all the rest of it. And, some resources for candidates to get around.
Yep.
But we've got 2 great MPs down there, David Eddershank in Western Metro and Rachel Payne in South East Metro, who are up for re-election next year. There was the Werribee by-election, which was, again, a good result. Western suburbs of Melbourne. And what did we get there? I think, what was that? I think it was 7%, somewhere like that.
Yeah, sat around that.
Yeah, and there was lots of candidates again. And if you said that, essentially 1 in 10, 1 in 12 people in your community, that's what that means, are walking into the ballot box and saying, that's my number one issue. That's a big deal.
It is, and that's where it would be good to be able to get out there a bit more with our advertising and get those people who don't come in to vote or think there's no one really worth voting for, is to get those people to come in and vote. But we have a lot of restrictions on our advertising due to cannabis being illicit substance, so...
Yeah,
or classed as that.
Yeah, in some, it's a legitimate medicine and an illicit substance.
Yep.
And so TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Meta, they absolutely smash us. Hence the podcast, because good on YouTube, they let adults have an adult conversation about a serious issue affecting millions of people. So that's part of what we're doing with Into the Weeds, having those conversations, and so big election coming up.
Yep.
Hoping for the big breakthrough. What else can people do to assist the movement?
Basically, if you're on your socials or anywhere in the community, is let people know we're about. Share. Bring someone along if we have a meetup. We're hoping to do a few more meetups in Queensland coming up to the election, and getting people on board that way. And, always bring a friend.
Great words. Bring a friend. A really important movement, Suze. You are absolutely fundamental to it. Like, political parties and social change don't happen without people like you who take their experience out to the community. So everyone, get involved with your state Legalise Cannabis Party. Get behind the WA election, the federal election. We are making change. We are doing it for the betterment of all society. It's a huge issue. Legalise cannabis. Get behind us. Get behind Suze and the whole team. Vote 1, Legalise Cannabis. And don't forget to subscribe, like and share. Share. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Suze.
Thank you.